Hey everybody, Dave here. We've got another new podcast for you. Yes, another podcast. Can you believe it? The ever-restless imaginations of the CyberWire editorial team decided to have a little fun this time, and the show is called Shadow Speak, where we will be bringing you readings from the dark underworld of cybercrime and espionage, reinterpreted and reimagined for the benefit of the InfoSec literati. The first season available now is called Shadow Brokers, Volume 1. Read by yours truly, D.W. Bittner. It's all play and parody, of course, and you can find it where all the fine podcasts are found. And don't forget to send us your ideas for readings along with your literary criticism to shadowspeak@thecyberwire.com. Enjoy. Funding for this CyberWire podcast is made possible in part by LastPass. LastPass is an award-winning security solution that helps millions of individuals in over 70,000 organizations navigate their online lives easily and securely. Businesses can maximize productivity while still maintaining effortless, strong security with LastPass. LastPass can minimize risk and give your IT team a breakthrough integrated single sign-on, password management, and multi-factor authentication solution. CISA and the FBI warn of extensive Iranian cyber attacks that exploit flaws in widely used VPNs. The U.S. indicts 2 men for website defacements undertaken for the benefit of Iran and in retribution for the U.S. drone strike that killed Quds Force Commander Soleimani. The U.S. has also indicted 7 in a cybercrime and cyber espionage wave conducted in conjunction with Wicked Panda. Ethiopian strifes made worse by social media. Joe Kerrigan describes scammers using fake alerts on websites. Our guest is Kevin Ford, CISO of the state of North Dakota, on their move to offer free anti-malware to all state K-12 institutions. And ByteDance's plans for TikTok grow clearer. From the CyberWire studios at Data Tribe, I'm Dave Bittner with your CyberWire summary for Wednesday, September 16th, 2020. CISA, the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, has warned in a joint alert issued with the FBI that threat actors based in Iran have increased their exploitation of known vulnerabilities in virtual private networks. VPN use has spiked during the pandemic, and the attackers are taking advantage of the expanded attack surface. Federal agencies are being targeted. So are private sector organizations, mostly in healthcare, technology, financial, insurance, and the media. The attackers are making much use of 3 web shells: Tiny, China Chopper, and Chunky Tuna, and tunneling tools FRPC and Chisel, with FRPC used over port 7557. CISA and the FBI note that the Iranian threat actors use ngrok a great deal, and this may appear as TCP port 443 connections to external cloud-based infrastructure. The 2 agencies offer some advice for mitigating the risk these campaigns present. They come down, for the most part, to sound digital hygiene. If you haven't patched for the Citrix CVE 2019-19781 vulnerability, do so. CISA Alert AA20031A offers some recommendations in this regard. You should also, as a matter of routine, audit your configuration and patch management programs. The agencies also recommend monitoring network traffic for unexpected and unapproved protocols. They recommend using multi-factor authentication and implementing the principle of least privilege with respect to data access. And of course, keep software up to date. You can read the whole thing yourself in CISA Alert AA20-259A. The warning came as tensions between the U.S. and Iran remain high. Iran is under unusual public pressure from the recent U.S.-brokered rapprochement of Israel and some of Iran's regional Arab rivals, notably the United Arab Emirates. The U.S. Justice Department yesterday unsealed its indictment of 2 Iranians in connection with their alleged defacement of websites in response to the U.S. drone strike that killed Iranian General Soleimani during his activities in Baghdad. The two men charged are accused of what would appear to be patriotically motivated cyber vandalism. They began working together in December of last year, but began the defacement campaign that led to the charges after January's drone strike that killed the Quds Force commander outside the Baghdad airport. The two are charged with conspiring to commit intentional damage to a protected computer and with intentionally damaging a protected computer. The first charge carries a sentence of up to 5 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of $250,000 or twice the gain or loss, whichever is greater. The second charge provides for a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of $250,000 or twice the gain of loss, whichever is greater. Joseph R. Bonavolonta, special agent in charge of the FBI Boston Division, pointedly said in the Justice Department press release that the two are now effectively unable to travel outside the Islamic Republic or the Palestinian Authority without risking arrest and extradition. Denial of free travel is one of the costs commonly imposed on criminal hackers outside the reach of the U.S. government, even when they're the sort of low-level talent involved here. Such imposition of costs may also be seen in a second U.S. federal indictment of 7 people on charges of international cybercrime announced this morning. 2 defendants have been arrested in Malaysia, and the remaining 5 remain at large in China. The 7 are alleged to have stolen source code, software code signing certificates, customer account data, and what the Justice Department characterizes as valuable business information. The intrusions through which the theft was accomplished facilitated other criminal activity as well, particularly ransomware and cryptojacking. 2 of the 7 are charged with 25 counts of conspiracy, wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, money laundering, and violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. They targeted companies, but they also had a side hustle going in the form of a video game conspiracy in which they stole and resold in-game currencies and commodities. They also sought to get the gaming companies to ban various criminal competitors. The remaining 3 Chinese nationals face 9 counts of racketeering conspiracy, conspiracy to violate the CFAA, substantial violations of the CFAA, access device fraud, identity theft, aggravated identity theft, and money laundering. The alleged racketeering conspiracy pertains to their operation of Chengdu 404 Network Technology, a Chinese company through which they engaged in a range of racketeering that affected more than 100 companies. At least one of the individuals under indictment is said to have boasted of his connections with Chinese security and intelligence services. Indeed, the activity seems to have some connection with APT-41, also known as Wicked Panda, and some of the targets were government networks where the defendants appear to have been collecting intelligence. So the activity would indicate that China's government is willing to let its contractors make some money on the side as long as their activities benefit Beijing. Vice describes the way in which Facebook has apparently figured in Ethiopia's growing ethnic violence. The strife has been centered in the region of Omoria, where intergroup tensions have found expression and amplification in social media. And finally, ByteDance's deal with Oracle has grown clearer. According to the Wall Street Journal, TikTok's American operations will be incorporated as a U.S. company, with Oracle holding a significant but still minority stake in the new company. ByteDance will retain majority ownership. The Washington Post thinks the reorganization is likely to meet with U.S. regulatory approval. And now, a word from our sponsor, ExtraHop, securing modern business with cloud-native network detection and response. The massive shift to remote work has turned the reality of work on its head. With cloud and multi-cloud adoption, comprehensive visibility is more important than ever. But in order to protect your business, you need more than unified visibility. You need intelligence response workflows so teams can collaborate easily and act quickly. ExtraHop helps organizations like Wizards of the Coast detect threats up to 95% faster. As John Kreese, senior IT engineer, puts it, quote, ExtraHop is helping us accelerate cloud adoption by ensuring our workloads are secure. See how it works in the full product demo, free and no forms required, at extrahop.com/cyber. That's extrahop.com/cyber. And we thank ExtraHop for sponsoring our show. The state of North Dakota quietly flies under the radar when it comes to cybersecurity policy, but they recently implemented a plan for a statewide offering of anti-malware software and services for every K-12 organization in the state. Kevin Ford is Chief Information Security Officer for the state of North Dakota, and he joins us with the case for why the move deserves attention.
The state of North Dakota has a statewide network that all public organizations are required by law to be on. That includes K-12, but it also includes cities, counties, as well as the state government. So we have a very, very large user pool here. It's all commingled. It's about 250,000 devices at any one given time. So we have a pretty large task on our hands keeping that all secure. K-12 happens to be our largest user group, and it's a user group that we feel really needs to be protected, particularly during this time when teleworking and virtual learning are so key to the state. So with that in mind, the state has decided to provide free security services to K-12 organizations. That includes a very robust and feature-rich anti-malware, next-generation anti-malware that has a very, very strong capability against modern types of ransomware. It also includes vulnerability management as well as breach monitoring.
And what has the response been so far? Are they welcoming this effort?
The majority of K-12 organizations have been very welcoming of this. First off, I think it hits the right price point, free. So that's always great for everyone. And we're very pleased to be able to offer it for free. I should say we had to do a lot of kind of financial acrobatics to get this done. But I think we're in a good spot. So, our key mission is to reduce risk for every citizen in North Dakota. And I think this is a big road forward in that regard.
What went on, behind the scenes from the value proposition side of things as you all were making the case to, the various stakeholders at the state level that this is a good thing to invest in?
So I think one of the most important things that we were able to do was make officials understand or help them understand that, and it's an old maxim, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So this is and should be seen, and I believe is seen by the majority of leaders within the state as a key method of reducing risk and thereby reducing the expense around cybersecurity events for the state. So this is one way that the state is trying to kind of prevent that sort of ransomware attack or these other risks that can be so expensive. And when you compare the cost of doing this versus the cost of these ransomware events and these large malware outbreaks, it seems to be a no-brainer. We're really saving a lot of money for K-12 organizations within the state, and if you take the state as a whole, we're saving a lot of money for the state as a whole.
That's Kevin Ford. He's Chief Information Security Officer for the state of North Dakota.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Dragos. Be sure to catch Dragos' next webinar, How to Create an OT Cyber Risk Strategy for Your Board, on September 30th, when they address strategic OT cybersecurity drivers that factor into a cyber risk strategy, including unique considerations for OT, IT, and IIoT. Visit dragos.com/events. That's dragos.com/events. And we thank Dragos for sponsoring this show.
And joining me once again is Joe Kerrigan. He's from the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute and also my co-host on the Hacking Humans podcast. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
Interesting article came by. This is from the folks over at Sophos. This is written by Sean Gallagher, and it's titled Faking It, the Thriving Business of Fake Alert Web Scams. Yes. I have seen these myself. What's going on here, Joe?
Well, this is an analysis of the business behind this and how this whole thing works and how it's kind of evolving.
Yeah.
Basically, the underlying method that this works with is with an advertising network that injects these malicious ads into a website. And these ads pop up, and they use techniques like cascading style sheets and JavaScript to make these pop-ups look really, really convincing. A lot of times they will look like a Windows interface or like an Apple interface, and they will lead you to some path where you are separated from your money. That's how this works. So the classic one we've all seen and heard about is the tech support scam. You have a virus on your computer, please call this number. And then you call the number and someone there says, well, we'll sign you up for some virus software that costs $500 a year and you'll be A-OK, right? Well, now we're seeing this more, what Sean's talking about here is you're seeing this more on the mobile platforms as well. And we've talked about this as well on Hacking Humans and I believe on this show, one of the big problems with the mobile platform is that the screen real estate is really limited. So you may not have as much of a clue that you're looking at a web page, or you may not be able to notice the smaller alerts that say, hey, this is not a secure web page. Additionally, one of the things that they're doing on the mobile application is they're saying just go to the store, the Apple Store, the Google Play Store, and download this app that will take care of it. And of course, that's what they call a PUA, a potentially unwanted application. And it can be something that we've talked about before as well, called fleeceware, which is a piece of software that will cost you an exorbitantly large amount of money to use every month. And in order to cancel it, you have to go into your store account, either the Apple App Store account or your Google Play account, and cancel it. And you can get your money back, but a lot of people don't do that. And these guys make bank on this.
Right. One of the things I've noticed about some of these pop-ups is they refer to it in the article as browser lock attacks, which is when one of these pops up, you can't do anything else in the browser, even in other tabs, before you get rid of this alert or do something in this alert.
Well, what happens is the JavaScript is written such that when you close the alert, it immediately reopens it, which then assumes control of the tab again. Now, they did say that on Safari, you can open another tab and then close the original tab, or go to the tabs interface and close the tab so it goes away. And I think you can do that on Chrome on Android as well. I'm not sure. I haven't received one of these on my mobile app recently. So yeah, you can close them, but if you're not a sophisticated user, it's difficult to close. The best thing you can also do, you can just close the application, and then when you open the browser again, it starts with a new fresh page. So you can do that. I'm not sure how it works in Apple. One of the interesting things that Sean mentioned in this article, and this hadn't ever occurred to me before, is that if you're on a PC and you get one of these attacks and they install this fraudulent software or this malware that they're selling as legitimate, in some cases that they were investigating, they found that the computer's victim becomes an exit node for a peer-to-peer VPN service, which then allows the scammers to use that computer and the victim's internet connection for further scams. So not only are you being victimized, but your machine is then being utilized to victimize others.
Wow. What are the recommendations here to put an end to these sorts of things? Is there anything you can do to prevent them?
Yeah, Sean lists a number of those preventions. He says on the desktop, at least, you can use a pop-up blocker that will provide some protection, but it might not protect against the pop-under advertisements. There are tracker blockers such as the Electronic Frontier Foundation's Privacy Badger that can suppress trackers from malvertising networks and prevent pop-unders from being loaded. There's reputation-based blocks and malware protection that can also block any of these sites. So when you go to the site, you're actually alerted, hey, this is a scam site. But the problem is, if all this is new and fresh and nobody else has hit it, and you're being victimized by this attack within the first couple of hours of a campaign, you're going to be your only line of defense. It's going to come down to you as it usually does. So just close the app if you can't do anything else. But never install software that's advertised on a pop-up. Never click on a website, and never allow a phone call to go through, or never make a phone call from one of these sites. They're always scams. Microsoft will never call you. Microsoft doesn't reach out to you this way. Apple doesn't reach out to you this way. Google doesn't reach out to you this way.
Right. All right. Well, Joe Carrigan, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Dave.
Thanks to all of our sponsors for making the CyberWire possible, especially our supporting sponsor, Proofpoint's Observit, the leading people-centric insider threat management solution. Learn more at observit.com. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. And for professionals and cybersecurity leaders who want to stay abreast of this rapidly evolving field, sign up for CyberWire Pro. It'll save you time, keep you informed, and it leaps tall buildings in a single bound. Listen for us on your Alexa smart speaker, too. The CyberWire podcast is proudly produced in Maryland out of the startup studios of Data Tribe, where they're co-building the next generation of cybersecurity teams and technologies. Our amazing CyberWire team is Elliot Peltzman, Haru Prakash, Stefan Vaziri, Kelsey Bond, Tim Nodar, Joe Carrigan, Harold Terrio, Ben Yellen, Nick Valecki, Gina Johnson, Bennett Moe, Chris Russell, John Petrick, Jennifer Iben, Rick Howard, Peter Kilpie, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.